I first heard about his company through a newspaper article about a month ago, and basically the takeaway from this article, which wasn't totally clear, is that one of the difficulties in getting more widespread adoption of EVs is what do people do who have already maxed out their electrical panel and they don't want to spend, say, $5,000 just to get a new electric panel installed. So anyway, DCC has a solution for that problem that is actually available and meets the National Electric Code. And so Christian is going to tell us more about that. And so go ahead and make yourself the presenter. And the rest of you, if you have questions, go ahead, unmute yourselves one at a time and ask some questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Ben, actually for finding us in the newspaper. This is awesome. I've been trying to get in touch with your association. Actually, I did send an email to all the biggest EV owner association back when I joined DCC in 2018. This is the backstory is I used to work for Tesla and I met the family who founded the company, which is RVE, Recharge Véhicule Électrique. And the product was solving a huge issue that I was personally facing every day with condo owners. When they came in the store in Montreal, we were almost telling them, when we knew that there were condo owners, we were telling them that the door was right there. It's almost to say like, there's no way for me to sell you a car. We were welcoming them, definitely, but the idea was that we were very frustrated that there was no way. And even for situations like a grandpa trying to achieve his dream of driving electric and being really sad that he didn't want to move. He had no way to have an electric car before. You know what? So touching stories like this. So for the situation came up where DCC introduced me the product. I said, you know what? I'm gonna make sure that Tesla knows about this. It's a game-changing product, which I did. I'm happy about that. Now this Tesla is able to. The support line is able to suggest DCC to customers, but we're only beginning to grow. So my role is a sales manager for the US. I'm typically touching base with electricians and HOAs, EV owners, EV association, like yourself, and trying to educate them about the solution. So if you may, so I'm using this new computer. I hope everything is set up the way I want. I'm gonna share my screen and try this. Okay. You can probably see the screen right now.
Yes, it looks good.
Perfect. So let me move to the second one. So the company is RVE, the product is DCC, and Merbly is the support site, which offers educational tools and guidance for Stratas and Mercs. As it stands for the US market, what I typically offer is the website, and I tell the EV owner typically or the HOA that they can find resources like the survey. We have a policy template on the website, and depending on what situation they're in, they're gonna be able to find, am I able to do this? If not, what's my option B? And it's pretty much all the experience that we gathered over since the beginning of the company in 2000, 15 is on that website for free. So this is what the website looks like. As it stands, like I said, it's not like in Canada. The focus for us is mainly Canada, but definitely the US, the products are following after we, for instance, we complete the UL certification. And I'd like to say right now that we actually completed the UL certification for the entire line of our products just a week ago. We were waiting for the last two products to get the certification. So I'm just very excited to say that it's the case for every product that we sell. And as an example, you can see actually case studies on the website with up to 100 units. Actually, the record now is something like 256. So the main question we have to ask ourselves in any case is the panel accessible? Like, so this is when DCC makes the most sense. That's when you avoid the panel upgrade, all of that headache. And our product is obviously electric vehicle energy management system. And you can see an example here of the DCC 9 and DCC 11, which is manufactured by Thermonec. And it allows the connection of an EV charger to the main feeder of a panel without affecting the load calculation. So this is a big one. So it will not add 0 amp on the grid. It will just use what is available, just in a smarter way. One second here, sorry. So what it does, in other words, I'm going to read it as it is on the website. I mean, I can basically, I want this to be clear. So how it works, DCC does a real-time reading of the total power consumption of a home or condo electrical panel. It detects when the total power consumption of the main circuit breaker exceeds 80% and temporarily de-energizes the charger. So when it detects that the total power consumption of the electric panel is less than 80% for more than 15 minutes, it automatically re-energizes the charger. So it's basically going to monitor that it's under 80% all the time. And if it goes above 80%, it's going to shut down for 15 minutes. And if it's back to under 80% after 15 minutes, then it's going to re-energize the electric vehicle. As simple as that. So DCC will allow power to be delivered to the EV charger if the total demand of the panel is below its full capacity. So in other words, the electrician will obviously have to do a load calculation. The way it's, and there's always this 80% threshold for security. So that DCC is using 80% of that threshold. So there's always this security level. So the features are really that it's idle when there's no breaker space, no more breaker slot available in a panel, and it's automatically going to build electricity by the utility for the multi-unit residential building installation, and it can be installed on the ceiling or the wall mounted. So again, the fact that it's built individually, there's no monthly fee. This is a big one. You don't need to have a system that takes care of a system and manages the system. So it's basically you install it once, and afterwards you can expand and have one DCC per unit. So the DCC 9 or 11 is installed between the meter stack and the panel of the unit. So DCC 9 and DCC 11, we'll talk about it a little bit later. The difference is the maximum capacity. So this is the DCC 9 box, the interior. It's great for developers who want to gain EV charging infrastructure without having to pay for the electronics. So it simplifies large-scale installations. So let's say the HOA does a survey, and there's only 3 EV owners that would like the DCC9 to be installed today, and there's 10 units in total. This means that it's a really good opportunity to install the DCC9 box, only the enclosure, which is more affordable, at the same time as the 3 DCC units installation. You're gonna have a much cleaner installation. It's not like gonna look like a huge spaghetti. And after all, you manage to have a fully EV ready building. And the box makes it so that the next step would be that a future EV owner purchases an electric vehicle, and they need to call the electrician. And the electrician will purchase the DCC9 PCB. So the electronic component with the 2 CTs, current transformers that we see here, and you're gonna have a fully functioning DCC9 box. So this is really favorable for EV ready regulations. Obviously, there's so many advantages of doing this type of planification. Even when you have a policy in place for the condo, the strata, everybody will know what they need to do. So the EV owner can definitely install the DCC9 for themselves, pay for the installation. Nothing will affect any other neighbors. So this is really what I'm seeing typically one by one. But lately we've seen more installation which involve this type of installation. So I'd like to share with you that those products that you see, except the DCC9 box on your right. So I'm talking about the DCC11, DCC9 box 6, and DCC9 box 3 are now UL listed as of recently, meaning that instead of, it's much easier to plan for the future, and obviously one box at a time it was doing a really good job until when you really want to expand, that product was the next step for us. So the DCC11, just to clarify, DCC9 goes up to 125 amps. That's the main panel size, and DCC11 goes up to 200 amps. So in both cases, it's when you don't have a breaker space available. So underneath, you see examples of compatibilities with Schneider, Siemens meter stack. They're exactly the same dimension. With the Eden meter stack, there's about 2 inches less wide, but they can definitely be installed to make sure that you don't get into this as much as possible. All right. So what's happening here is this building, in a few words, this is a new construction. They didn't think about the EV charger. A lot of EV owners requested to have one installed. There was not enough capacity, and they had to find a solution. So you see some boxes open on the left. Those are empty. Those are for the future. They decided to have a fully EV ready building, which cost them I think it's $500,000 Canadian, and they in the end they were basically sued by the HOA, and they had to pay 50% of that cost. So because they were just not prepared enough, and that product, I mean, it wasn't a good example in the long run, and this is why you can use this example here to see that this is our latest product, the DCC9 box 6, which has a clean and compact installation, and it just looks pretty neat. You can install it on the ceiling again if need be. If you have to create a wall, which they had to do in this case, then it can add on the cost. You can actually use the other side. Some electricians use that tip, but with our latest product, it just makes so much sense to go that route. So here's the spec sheet between the DCC 9 and DCC 11. So what I'd like to talk about the rule of thumb. When, for example, you have a panel of 100 amp, you need to remember the 50% rule. So you will only be able to install a 50 amp breaker. So in this case, a 50 amp breaker for this case would be the DCC 950 amp. So for example, a lot of people would love to have a 60 amp for their, I mean, if the panel is 100 amp, 60 amp is just not possible. It's going to be 50 amp in this case. So just set proper expectations about what the product can do. And in the case of DCC 11, if it's above 125 amps, then the dip switches would be adjusted to be either at 150 amp or 200 amps. And like you see, the box is about 12 by 12 by 7.5 and 16 by 16 by 8. So in the case where the panel is not accessible, either that it's on the roof, just in the middle, or it's a single meter, then there's an option for that. Obviously, the product that we're basically selling in Canada is not available in the US. Let's put it that way. It's called S&P. It's going to be in the future, but there's a solution for this type of issues, basically, of situation. So, you know, I wanted to add this slide to show you an example of the type of question a typical EV owner would have. And this is pretty much what you will find on our website. The answer to, is there actually a unit? Do I have access to my own unit, own electrical meter? Yes. Is the electric meter, okay. Yes, is it near the parking spot space? Yes or no? This is another, yes, the DCC will be installed next to the meter as close as possible to lower the costs. And then the electrician will bring the EV charger all the way to the parking spot. But I mean, we need to consider that. Obviously, is it a condo strata? Is it a rental? Am I able, actually, the infrastructure, can it allow me to have EV charging at level 2? Yes, most likely DCC. The solution A, I mean, is DCC, since you won't have to do a panel upgrade, and that will be it. The second option would be to install a DCC box for future installations, if it's rentals, for example. And plan C would be the installation of a smart panel, the S&P. This is a smart management panel system that will be available in the future. So for a single family home, we have this product, DCC 12. So you see the current transformers that will be attached to the main panel. And this is when you have a breaker space available. So it's typically for, it's ideal for single family homes with a full electrical panel. And I have questions sometimes about, can I have a second EV charger installed? Do I need a second DCC for, it's one DCC per panel? And you can actually use, for instance, the Tesla wall connector, which has load sharing capabilities. And that way it would be managed by one DCC, but you could definitely use up to two EV chargers. So the two CDs, the current transformers, they monitor the service to the main panel. It does a real-time monitoring. It detects when the total power consumption of the main circuit breaker exceeds 80%, and again, temporarily de-energizes the EV charger. So when and then it detects if the power consumption is less than 80% for more than 15 minutes, and then it's gonna re-energize the charger. The good thing about the DCC 12 is that the enclosure is NEMA 3R, meaning that it's you can install it outside. And I want to clarify that our products are so if you, I mean, the certification for a product says here that even if the product is advertised for EV chargers, it can be installed for other types of load. So here you go. I don't know if you have any quiz questions.
Have you done any compatibility testing to, show that it works with particular brands of chargers? There've been some cases where somebody has one particular brand of charger that for some reason or another doesn't seem to work with their EV or whatever.
I didn't mention that part, but our product works with every charger on the market.
Good to know. Thank you.
I noticed there were some questions in the chat. I'll see if I can read some of those. Okay, we'll start with a question from Sybil. What is the website? That should be an easy one. Christian, can you flash that up for us on the screen?
The website, yes, I can share the website definitely. So DCC Electric is the website. Basically, for the US market, there's a buy now button here, and this will bring you to a form. And then when the form is completed, I will get the requests from whoever in the United States. And yeah, basically it's well, I'm able to get back here. Okay. So yeah, and you can have access to the spec sheet, the installation videos as well. There's a video installation here on our YouTube channels, the spec sheet, installation manual, UL listing, and a few examples that are pretty neat actually. Examples of installations, sealing. So yeah, the website is really, really awesome. There's a lot of resources on there, and for pricing, the fact that we now have the DCC 11 for sale is I need to say that this product, the MSRP is $1,500, but let's focus on the other products that I'm typically selling. We have the DCC 9 at $1,145 and the DCC 12 at $825. So
is that Canadian or US dollars or Canadian?
That's US, everything in shipping, taxes, everything. So delivery expectations are right now, since COVID, I'm talking about 10 days to just set proper expectations. But we ship express, so it's 3 to 5 days. It could be next day doorstep. So this is what we're dealing with. But the DC 9 and DC 11 are most popular products. I'm just getting used to talk about DCC 11 now. It's finally happening in the US.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's see. Then we had a question. Does the product have any storage, or does it only take power when it's available and when demanded by an EV?
Sorry, I heard maybe half of the question, so I'm not sure exactly.
Oh, okay. Right, so look in the chat at the question from 1:18 p.m. Pacific time. I'm actually, while you're reading that, I'm going to jump in. I'm pretty sure the answer to this is the DCC does not have any storage. It is a circuit management solution or a load management solution might be the better word.
You can use the example of, the load miser. It's kind of a smart load miser. So, you install it once, it's going to make sure that, for instance, that you come, in my case, come back from picking up the kids, if we're using a lot of energy, and let's say that I don't look on my Tesla app to see if the charging stopped, I will never know, since typically if it stops for 15 minutes because it's just too much used by the home, like I said, then it's just going to re-energize after 15 minutes. But overall, the car will be charging overnight, like we know, and it will be full in the morning. So it's really a smart management system that makes sure to use all the energy that's available in your panel and make good use of it. So instead of doing the panel upgrade, it's just using energy more efficiently.
And I think you call that the load miser?
Load miser, a long time ago, the load miser was a device that was like let's say one of the first ways to manage, but the fact that it's automatic, it's smart. You're not gonna have to touch, it's the old system. Like it's what I was told when I joined, and I was told, oh, the load miser is like the ancestor of what this is doing. In other words.
Okay.
Hi there. We've spoken once before, Christian. Maybe it was a year or so ago. And so I'm interested right now in the question about the DCC 12. So, I think we've got in the States and probably in Canada the whole question of how one can electrify homes further that today are sort of half electricity and half gas.
Mm-hmm.
And at least where I am in Pacific Gas and Electric territory, one runs into the problem that you will find it very difficult to get upgraded service. So like I have a pretty big house, 125 amp service. And if I'm going to take my hot water and my kitchen, et cetera, off of gas and put it onto electricity, I'm buttoned up against what's doable. So I guess my first question is, and it may be a dumb question or a smart question, I don't know, is would the DCC 12 effectively sort of take in this case, the car charging, let's say that's what the car charging sort of out of the calculations for where you're at in terms of either legally or effectively, either code accepted or kind of just subversively, so that one can start to sort of dedicate more of one's available amperage to other shit.
Exactly. So I'm gonna, I'm not an engineer, I'm not an electrician. I'm just like you, this group. I'm passionate about the mission, and this product solves a big, big problem. So in a few words, there's always that 80% threshold, and DCC is another 80%. But the fact that there's 80% for the entire house, it does make that the 20% is still there, it's still available. So if you use the DCC, it does the low calculation of the entire consumption, and it's gonna say, oh, you have 20%, you have a 20% available. I'm gonna use that as long as everything is still under 80% for the entire consumption. So it's kind of, yes, it's a smart way. I'm still impressed to this day. This idea is so simple, but at the same time, just on point. So this is the only way to grab as much energy as possible, but without saying we need to upgrade but we're still in the safe zone. It's the 80% of that 80%, everything is secure. So the UL listing, you can imagine, takes quite a bit of time. So
Yeah.
the fact that we have that is always like, it's almost like I sell DCC Electric, it's UL listed, and then it's like perfect. The inspectors love us. A lot of them call it the magic box. It's fun to hear. So yeah, I hope this answers your question.
I'm gonna also go back to something I think I saw. I think you showed a slide where I said the DCC is marketed as a product for EVs, but it is approved for use with any appliance, really. So if you install an air conditioner, for example, it should work for that, I think.
Obviously, there's cities that actually change their local code to our utility companies, especially here in Canada, that just said, yeah, it's going to work for other purposes, and they just write it on paper. That's not what I'm going to be able to say today, but talk with your electrician, and they will look with the inspector. And I've seen projects that were used with the DC without being for EVSC purpose. Yeah.
Well, one thing to keep in mind is that all these loads that Mark mentioned, you know, water heater and stove and, you know, so forth, they're intermittent loads. So you're not always heating water, you're not always cooking. So I think with something like this, you can kind of time share and make things work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And it's all, there's a lot of kludge going on here, but that's sort of the nature of electricity in houses.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at my wall and I'm just like amazed every day that it works.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna go on to the next question. This one is a case where it would have been good if I saw it sooner. There was a request to Christian to make the pictures bigger, but I think we can address that question by making these slides available to you folks after the meeting.
So Merbly website, everything is pretty much on there. This is the best resource. Merbly is, I'm gonna write it down in the chat. So Merbly stands for multi-unit residential building. So kind of with a twist.
Okay. Okay.
And the RVE is the parent company. And I saw, no, I'm physically located in Montreal. I've been managing the United States for 4 years and a half from Montreal. I've been to California many times. My last trip was in 2019, where I've been I zigzagged pretty much across the California state and made many contacts there with our customers. And yeah, basically I haven't had the opportunity since COVID, but it's gonna happen at some point. And yeah, I actually spent a lot of time in California in my life, like 7 months almost, that I stayed around Hollywood, and I know California quite a bit. And United States, I was a flight director for 15 years before, so I've been a couple of states and provinces, just a couple.
Okay.
There's a couple more questions in the chat.
Yes. Oh, yes. Let me go and begin from the top, so it's going to be more efficient if you don't mind. Okay, multi-unit residential building is a term that is, for me, was more of a US term. but it's it's definitely. So basically, there's either, let's say, a townhouse with many different parking spots, and the multi-residential building is the towers. Okay. So we've been DCC has been produced and installed since 2015. We're in already 33 states, above 20,000 units sold so far. We're not in Europe. They have a different electric system over there. So our product solves the issues in North America. But we also have requests from Puerto Rico, one DCC installed in the Cayman Islands already. Okay, so take an example of one unit, multi-unit complex where your system is installed. How many times was the total usage? Did not get enough charge? Never. So I mean, it's almost that I know of. Typically, if we use the example of 98% of people drive in kilometers, 20,000 kilometers. So I mean, the thing is, it's really, if you drive a lot, and even in that case, you're using a lot of energy, your electric car battery might be empty, but this is another situation, another type of problem. You're gonna have, yes, a full car in the morning as much as possible, but you might have to use the networks to manage to get where you're going. But this is only a very small percentage. Well, the question about using a smaller amperage, sometimes even if, for instance, the panel is 100 amps and the electrician will say you have 50 amp available, it might not always be the best situation, the best answer. It could be that 40 amp makes a lot more sense. It's gonna secure the rest of the unit for what it has to do. So obviously the more the better, but I mean, it's a good example of, you don't always need the maximum. Obviously, take what you have. So the box is about, let's talk about $1,000 give and take. The DCC 9, there's one version for interior, one version for exterior, the 3R enclosure, and then you need to basically pick 30 amp, 40 amp, 50 amp or 60 amp, depending. And the electrician is typically gonna be the one placing the order, so we make sure it's actually the proper amperage. Yeah, in the US so far, 33 states, at least one DCC, but the Canadian market is by far the biggest. This is where we're focusing the most energy on, but it's evolving pretty quickly, not only with the Tesla certified electrician, but also Qmerit preferred partners are using us quite a bit. So it's just common for them to, it used to be a foreign product. Now they're really using this in their toolbox to complete projects that were basically not able to be completed before. You can't do peak hours. It's either the DCC will either be on or off. So you can't adjust when it's gonna work. So right now the solution is on off, and that way you have the most amount of juice whenever possible. But definitely use your app if you have one. You're able to manage your charging sessions. Let's bypass the need to upgrade the main panel. Yes, DCC 12 can bypass the need to upgrade the panel, and this is the entire beauty of it. Absolutely. I see Joe with your nice card.
Yes, I'm still perplexed or trying to associate costs with the original block diagram that you put on. Coming into a structure, you have a meter, following the meter is the input panel. All right. You're you're inserting your DCC 9 or whatever, basically between the meter and the panel itself, if I understand correctly.
Yes.
All right, so there's a cost associated with that. For example, if there's the meter is integral with the power input panel, then you have to somehow separate those so that you can insert your box into it. And if I were to be doing something like that, I'd say, well, what the heck? At the same time, I might as well upgrade the panel, because I have to I have to physically separate the two. Now, so there's a cost associated with that right up front.
Well, you don't have to break anything. You add the DCC. So when you involve a panel upgrade, you're basically putting, metal in the garbage. The thing is, with DCC, the electrician will cut the cables, reroute them in the DCC. Simple as that. It's very efficient for them. It's very quick. It's to the point. So the situation is not exactly that. So you basically have to rewire the cables, intercept them. You don't have to take anything down. And it's a total. I mean, the panel upgrade itself is really it's so dreaded, it's so intense, and that's the focus of DCC. We keep everything in place.
Okay, so I was just trying to, visualize physically basically the interrupting the wiring going from the meter going to the panel, which would be fine if the meter is separate from the panel. I'm afraid I'm only familiar with those where the meter is actually integral to the panel, to where you've got bus bars going directly from the meter inside the panel.
Right. Yeah.
So I had difficulty in visualizing how you're going to cut a bus bar and then run and bring this external box here to do it. But you're obviously doing it, so I'll just shut up.
No. Yeah, no worries. I'm gonna find the electrician kit for you, because this is what I need to show you right now. The electrician kit is what we give to the electrician, and I sent a copy of it to Ben. Electrician kit.
Joe, I'm wondering if the mistaken impression here wasn't the difference between a multi-unit location and a single family home, because am I right? Do multifamily homes here have that kind of integrated meter and panel?
Yeah, you will see there. It's called the main. I will show you. Okay.
Okay, I haven't seen them. Everywhere I've gone,
no worries.
Just sort of standalone meters, and
Okay, so let me put that here. All right. So for the numbers and the states, it's not upgraded, the sales figures. I want to show you the examples, like right now. So DCC 12 with meter box. So the main example in my slide was this one. You can probably see right now. Is it clear enough? Can you see it?
No, we haven't. We're not seeing your. We're still seeing ourselves.
I think you need to share again. Okay.
Now we can see it.
Perfect. So DCC 12 with main panel, and then you see exactly, like, this is the diagram that we share with the electrician or even EV owners. I have no issues sharing this document with you. It's just that in the slide, it's more like the first level. This is more a second level. So you see the example that, okay, let's go over all the examples, but we don't need to be specific here. DCC 12 with the main panel, DCC 12 with the meter box panel, so attached. It's just a different way, as long as it's connecting to the main. In the case of the DCC 9, we have this one here, the meter stacks example. So it's going to be intercepted between the meter stack. So the main feeder of the unit here. This one is the example you were talking about, DCC9 with a sub panel, I'm thinking, and DCC9 with the main disconnect when it's attached here. Or, well, either example. There's a lot of them in California. When I've seen a lot of examples like those two. And yeah, that's it for the diagrams. But this is really one way. You know, for instance, when an EV owner is not sure, the electrician is not sure, that this is exactly what is gonna make them understand how the wiring will be done and how easy it is. Voila.
Voila. And I just wanted to say to Sybil, hi Sybil, nice to see you again. That your question, at least for me, the reason I've long been interested in the DCC products and have talked to Christian before is exactly because of what your question is. So what this means in a multifamily home, or it should mean, is you are wired into your own unit's panel box. So the charges will simply appear on your own regular electric bill, obviating, you know, the need for a third party, which obviously increased costs, and doing and also for the HOA or the property manager, they don't have to get involved in all this crap. And you know, we've got this group has been working on sort of code related stuff, and we are trying to get the code writers to understand the value of in multifamily homes direct to the individual meter. And this is the solution that when suddenly I found out about it from someone, I can't remember who, it was like, boom, you know, this is possible. It's a big deal.
You know what? I'm going to do something else. I'm going to share something that I use internally just to show, just to answer the examples that I have, because when I first joined, think of it, I think that I had 3 dots on that map that I'm going to, that I'm about to show you. 3 dots. Look at this now.
Yeah, that's great.
Sacramento, and I have driven everywhere between, like everywhere. So basically, yeah, the market is, it's actually just the beginning. So the DCC logos are DCC ambassadors that I like to call them. And the green dots are DCC, future DCC ambassadors. They're just waiting for the first DCC installation to basically become DCC ambassadors. So they're just waiting for, I mean, I'm also doing referrals. So whenever any type of referrals, I'm also in touch with utilities, I mean, management companies. The goal here is to be able to allow EV owners to know who they can call, what is the product. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you look at the video installation, you're gonna say, oh wow, it's a pretty cool video, only a couple of minutes, and you basically understand where we're coming from.
It looked like there were 2 in Palo Alto, is that correct? Maybe at Stanford? It was hard to tell from the map.
Menlo Park, there's 2. Yeah. So
and where in Menlo Park are they? Is it the city or an apartment complex?
I'm sorry, I didn't mention that the dots were DCC electricians. DCC ambassadors.
Electricians. They're not installations.
Imagine how many installations they have done each. This is only the contractor. So the examples that I have are numerous, but I don't necessarily know the address. not like we do
Oh.
in Canada with the case studies. This, we put a lot of energy using the Canadian examples, but those are only the contractors. So I used to ask for pictures, but it was a lot to handle.
I'd love to know where there is an installation in the San Francisco Bay Area.
If I can put you in touch with the DCC ambassador, is going to tell you an example that he actually completed. There's
Yeah,
a bit of them. If I'm thinking,
I think there was a dot in Cupertino or Mountain View or Santa Clara.
we definitely have them in all of those cities.
Okay.
Yeah, you know who does a lot? I mean, don't mean to pick out something, but I don't know if you know Willow Glen Electric. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy. It's
You mean
part of
like-
QMAT. Matt.
Definitely, I spoke with him 2 days ago. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really nice guy. He's very helpful. So if you talk to Matt, I'm sure I can't remember his last name, but it's Willow Glen Electric.
Okay, got it.
And you could just look them up and give him
Yeah.
a call and ask for Matt. And Lundres, Londres,
LOND.
Yes.
something like that. Lundres.
And
If I can say that Matt is probably the biggest DCC ambassador in the United States, and his company, his vision, the way he understood the product, and now he got acquired. They got acquired by QMAT. Definitely they know it. They know. I think they are an example. I have to say, just straight up, that company is an example to follow. The way they do things, the steps that they take, the form to complete the form and get a price and everything else.
Yeah.
thank you.
Hey, Christian, my name is Ron. I've got a technical question, but I also have a picture I'd like to share. Ben, can you let me share a picture?
Yeah, I think, hang on a second.
Yes.
I think you actually have to do this yourself. There's a share screen button at the bottom of your screen.
Can anybody see this?
Yeah, we see it.
Mhm.
Okay, this is an apartment complex with 17 buildings. They're all 3-story. They have parking underneath, and they have 17 units for every floor. So about 51 units per building times 17 buildings or 16. It's in Sunnyvale. It was built in the 70s. And looking at this panel, if you can see it, my question is, would that be possible? You can see all the wiring going up to the load centers in the individual apartments. And there's this gigantic conduit, it's like 4 inches diameter, feeding those things through the big box that's suspended from the ceiling there with steel rods. Christian, can you tell me if that would be feasible to be retrofitted? It'd be a hell of a job, but there are many people driving electric cars in that 750 or 715 family complex. And there's many of those in California where they have, multiple hundreds of apartments in a gigantic complex. Some of them are multi-stories. Luckily, these are only 3 stories. But does that look feasible, Christian, from what you're seeing?
Definitely, I've seen examples like that, many of them. So the idea is, obviously, if I could see on the left and just around, for examples like this, where, even using the ceiling, it doesn't make sense. There's a way. There's always a way. So far, even the fact that I don't come from the field, prior to this, I've seen many examples that electricians were thinking creatively. They were creating a wall, doing a second layer on the ceiling, or being like very, very creative. So this type of solution, I think, is feasible. Obviously, the electrician would be the best. I'm curious to know what the electrician said, or you're just beginning to discover more about the solution.
And one more question for you, Christian. Does the DCC 9, 11, or 12, do any of them involve double lugging on the meter connection? That's where you put two wires into a hold down clamp type set screw where you normally would only put one, because I believe many jurisdictions, I know Palo Alto probably is one of the toughest, they prohibit that. Double lugging is where two wires go into one hole and you tighten the set screw on both. Do you know if that's legal, or do you guys use that, or what?
So in fact, the official answer will be that I do have experience with the Palo Alto city. I know they are, yeah, really strict, and sometimes not necessarily right. But the thing is, my reality is the answer would be best. Not that I don't want to answer, but the best answer would come either from our support or your electrician, knowing that it's possible. We are, you know, if you want to use the wireway and put the CTs in the same, we allow that. It's preferable to use separate ones, and so I mean it's all about the local legislation. So yeah, basically I'm really I'm looking forward to have an answer from the electrician and know what they say about this. But sometimes it's really quick and the process is approved really quickly. It's just a question of completing the order and the installation. But you mentioned a city that I have a little bit of experience with, and it's not the easiest process, to put it that way.
Thank you.
Pleasure, man. This is the type of example, actually, once you are completed, please send me pictures. I'd love to use you know, examples like these to put on our website. The more the better. And I'm actually I think that United States customers should have access to local pictures as well. So I'd love to gather more of those.
So am I correct? The question here that you say there are always creative solutions for is simply the space to put the boxes?
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely. And sometimes they just use the other side of the wall. And then I'm like, I never thought of that. And there's a way, there's a picture, and I'm just like, bravo, just this is great.
Yeah, because there's definitely a lot of sort of going into these places at first, and people just go, up, no room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great.
And the DCC 9 box 6, I mean, is now something I can talk about officially. So it's just going to change the way you use the space available in a huge way, because I've seen it for so many weeks here in Canada. So it's just like a really big step forward. You know, even if I was in the HOA shoes, if that product is available, that's what I want, you know, compared to the 1x1. That will probably do for the first installation, and there's always this first in the building, and then after everyone is around that EV owner and he's like, how did you make it work? And then the other electrician are, this is awesome, great. So this is one of the times where those times where the product is doing so much for the mission that, you know, you just follow the product.
Are there, is there anybody else who hasn't had their question answered yet?
Just a quick clarification question. I missed this, but you just talked about a different product. Did you say DCC 6?
DCC 9 box 6. 6 is the box version, the enclosure, where there's 6 units on top of each other.
Got it. Is that on your website?
It is.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I will have pricing in 2 days. And you know, if I can send an email to Ben after, and I can gather. Well, you know what I would appreciate if you have that's what I offer to EV owners. I ask for their zip code, and then it's easier for me to introduce them to a local DCC ambassador. So if you want to do that, because I have so many right now that I just want to make sure to pick them and make sure that they were, they're still doing EVSC installation, even if most of them are. But that way, if you send a list of cities, I will be happy to send an email back to Ben and give you referrals as much as possible. Here you go. I'll take the first one down, 94025. If you want to do it now, it's going to be done. Perfect. Good idea. This is the lottery numbers I'm going to use tonight.
Surefire winners.
Yeah. And the fact that you're part of this EV association, by the way, I know it's you actually live in a very important part of the United States where EV is so ahead of the curve, and I really respect what you're doing out there. It's awesome, and the fact that we can touch base, I can share my enthusiasm for the product, for the mission, just like you, I'm really happy about that. And I would say that the Tesla stores, the Lucid store, or the electric car stores, those service people, the sales people are typically maybe younger. I've touched base with Tesla. A lot of the senior management might know about DCC, but if you're going to those stores, if you want to plant that seed, just like I did on every trip, every phone call to say DCC is available, I'm thanking you in advance already. The fact that you're here is saying a lot. So I really appreciate that. It's all part of the mission for me, helping more people get charged at home and not have this huge headache to just charge, right? So that's why I'm here, and I really appreciate that you gave me some time today.
Well, Christian, thank you for joining us today. I think this was really informative. And I'm going to suggest that anybody who still wants to ask questions may do so, but I need to go walk the dog now. So I'm going to end the recording and drop off the meeting myself. The rest of you are free to chat or do whatever.
Here's my email in case you want to touch base. So merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Christian. Really very, very helpful.
Thank